Okay, so we're looking at the Literature AQA exam paper today and exactly how it is you might achieve an A-star grade. So if you take a look at the green question just here, what we've got is two parts. You are able to answer both parts together, and for the purpose of this exercise we will be doing that. So it says, what does the extract teach you about the relationship between Curly's wife and the other men on the ranch? And then part B, what does the novel as a whole suggest about the treatment of black people in American society at this time? So looking at the next slide, a very simple structure that's recommended to write about this topic. Obviously, if you're trying to achieve a band 6, you need to have detailed paragraphs, and you do well to write a lot about a little. Each paragraph will begin with a strong topic sentence, and you can just follow down. You can see we're going with the point, quote, comment method, but also linking the ideas back to the question. Following on from that, we have some exam criteria and how you might achieve the very top marks, which lie in band 6. You're looking at themes, responses to ideas and exploring those. Close evaluation of detail, that means quotations. Evaluation of language, structure and form, and importantly effects on the readers. A lot of people forget to do that. You're looking at exploring the context and how that relates to what you've said. And using a range of telling detail, again quotations, to support your overall response. So take a look at this first example. What we have here is a paragraph that would achieve around about a C grade, and that's because the ideas within it are relatively simple and they don't go into a lot of detail. So, Curly's wife turns on Crooks with real venom when she feels under attack. Her scathing comment, well, you keep your place then, nigger, I could get you strung up on a tree so easy it ain't even funny, shows how little power the black community had during the 1930s. Therefore, Curly's wife reduces Crooks to nothing, taking away any dignity he had left by highlighting how easy it would be to have him killed. You can see there's some colour coding there. What you can also see is that this answer does not achieve any of the band 5 criteria there. We don't have language analysis. We don't really have an exploration of context. We have a reference to the context there, but no exploration of such. We do have details, but we don't have a range of details. And we do have comments on themes, but again, not particularly exploratory. So how do we improve upon this response? Let's take a look. Here we have more of a B grade response in this top box just here. Just ignore that red for the moment. Now you can see what's been added picks up from here. However, this says more about her own insecurity. She treats others with disrespect because this is how she is treated. She too, like Crooks and the others, wants friendship, but as a reader, her malicious suggestion towards Crooks removes any sympathy we may have initially felt for her. So, what has happened here is we've started to develop the ideas about Curly's wife and linking it back into the question. Now, for this to be a solid B grade, we would need some more analysis of language, as there isn't really any comment about the word usage in the quote there, and that's where this red box comes in. This is rather detailed, and adding this in would not only strengthen the B grade response, but would also take it up to an A grade. So that's when we start touching upon this band 6 criteria here. It says the violent verb strong here serves to remind the reader of how ruthless enslavers were and how little status black people held in society, even at the time Steinbeck was writing. Excuse the typos there. Furthermore, the use of the offensive nigger also serves to remind the reader of the inherent racism of the time. Even someone as low down the social hierarchy as Curly's wife, a young, recently married woman, is at liberty to insult Crooks and even threaten him with a violent end at her own pampered hands. If we'd maybe finished here, after time, that would probably have stayed at a high B. But it's this part here which relates into the context and begins to explore ideas behind it that then pushes the response up into the A grade and the band 6 criteria. Notice the use of violent verb being very specific with the language there, and also the indication that the word nigger is obviously incredibly offensive. These might seem like obvious things to say, but what they actually do is strengthen the response and make it clear to the examiner that you understand language devices and how it works as a tool of the writers. So finally then, taking this response from an A to an A star, what we've got is the same as you've already seen before. We would have the language analysis in there as well, which I've just completely copied across. But this pink paragraph is what is starting to push this into a sort of original idea, much more insightful, much more exploratory. So it says, it's interesting that Steinbeck suggests here that the weaker individuals of the ranch seem to attack each other rather than forming an alliance and ultimately satisfying their desire for friendship. By showing us this, it demonstrates the harsh reality of life during the 1930s and the fact that most people lead a lonely and unfulfilled life. That's an incredibly strong link to the overall context of the time that Steinbeck was writing. It's insightful, it's exploratory. What you've got is a tick against every single point on here, and that's how we get into the A-star band. We've got some insightful, original ideas about language. We've got some clever comments about what it shows us about Curly's wife with a clear link back to the question. We've got ample textual evidence. And we've got inherent comments on the context. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is how to achieve an A-star in English literature exam on Mice and Men.